This is the introduction to Assignment 6 on the core WPF path.
The WPF path for Assignment 6 is of course going to parallel the core WinForms path for Assignment 6 with a couple of key differences. The first is we are going to need to create some kind of vending machine class, and that's our view model class or our controller class. Now in the write-up I did call it a view model. I will let you know that in my solution it's really more of a controller because it actually has functionality that's going to modify the model objects at runtime. So having said that, it's not really that important whether it's a view model class or a controller class, and actually it implements a number of patterns. MVC and MVVM are actually larger patterns that have smaller patterns inside of them. So we're not going to worry too much about the specific definitions of the patterns. We just want to get the job done, and in this case we're going to create an intermediate class, which, as I said, in my supplied solution is more of a controller class than anything else. And in fact that is where I'm doing my publishing from, so that's the class that implements I notify property changed. So again, don't get too hung up on those distinctions, just create the class that does as the write-up describes. As we point out in part 4, you may already have a class that's similar to this, so you're welcome to use that class and modify it as need be so it'll fit into the library and do the job. Okay, so once you've got your intermediate class created, exercise 6.2 is to create the WPF version of the application vending machine. So of course, if you're unsure about exactly how that's supposed to work, definitely go back and take a look at the core WinForms write-up for this assignment. For your layout, I would suggest using grid and stack panel. Don't worry too much about the aesthetic beauty of the application. We're really just looking for the functionality. However, if you're good with this kind of stuff, you're welcome to make a very attractive application. I love to see those kinds of things in the student solutions. One thing that's kind of cool about the way XAML works is for part 3 here. If you're used to WinForms, you might find that some of the controls in the WPF application seem to be missing functionality. And that's actually part of the beauty of the way the controls we're going to use in the WPF applications work. And a good example of that is the fact that the image tag does not include a click event. However, button controls do include click events. So you can actually embed one in the other. You can take a button and embed an image inside of it, and you get the same effect as if the image tag had a click event. Now for this particular assignment, I'm going to suggest you use text blocks rather than label tags. You're actually welcome to use either one. I just want to introduce text blocks because people have already seen labels. The basic difference is that a text block is not technically a control, and it's a little bit lighter weight than a label. Probably in practice, I'm going to use labels more often than text blocks, but I did want to show them. Step 5 is to create a converter that will convert a Boolean value into an indication of whether or not the machine can make change or not.
And that's the introduction to Assignment 6 on the core WPF path.